Welcome back. Today, on our very first series, we are going to be talking about how to de-stress mealtime. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, there are 101 tips that I have learned by doing this the wrong way, and I just don't have time to share all of them with you right this second. So I have chosen 5. I'm going to share one set of them today, and I'll share another set the next time, so expect 5 episodes in this series. And then later on down the road, we may circle back to this and go and fine-tune those a little bit more. But today we're going to focus on big picture meal planning. Now, for some of you may be experienced with that. Others, that may be a word that you don't like because you don't want to do that. You like to be spontaneous. So I'm just going to tell you, we are going to begin with scripture as always, either rooted in biblical principle or every episode here literally goes to Bible verses. And today we find ourselves in Luke chapter 14. Now, when I read for this, for a host of reasons I'm going to be reading from the King James Bible version. You're welcome to follow along in a different version. So we're going to pick up in verse 28. There is obviously a much larger context here, but that's not my focus, so we're not going to go through all of that. And we'll read almost to the end of the chapter. So again, Luke 14:28. And here Christ says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest, haply, after he hath laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build, and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first, and consulteth, whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage, and desires conditions of peace." And then he goes on to, of course, make the deeper spiritual connection that he was teaching here. But what I want us to see is in the midst of this deeper spiritual truth that Jesus was teaching his disciples and God preserved for us in his word, there is a physical reality that we cannot avoid as wives, as mothers, as keepers of the home, even if it's just you and your household. As you are the woman in the household by design, God has put you in charge of that family. And part of that is cooking, taking care of dinners and meals. And so as we look through these verses, we see Jesus gives 2 everyday, common sense, this is wisdom examples to illustrate a principle that we cannot, without foolishness, miss applying to our homes. And so first he talks about construction projects. I'm sure you have seen all kinds of construction projects happening as you have gone through your area where you live. In our case, we actually have an example of this literal verse happened, and it was a wonderful teaching moment for me with my children, because near a place where the children like to go to play, they were building a building that had the appearance of it was going to be a coffee shop. It got right up to the point of they hadn't yet put any signage on it. So they hadn't yet given you the name of what it was going to be, but it was painted. We all knew what it was going to be. And we waited. Weeks went by. Months went by. A year went by. And nothing happened. All construction ceased, and it halted in this looking completely finished, ready to open state, just with no signs on it. 1 year went by. 2 years went by. And then, finally, when we had completely given up and had already for months been pointing out, look, it's Luke 14 right there. Somebody started a franchise and they couldn't finish. And there it sits. Finally, after all that time, now it is an up and running Starbucks. So yes, we were right. That's what it was. And so we see this principle, though, that Jesus is showing them, that you don't start a building project without first making sure you have everything in order. You have all of the ingredients, you know what it's going to cost, you're willing to pay that, and you are ready to sit down and see it through to its completion. And in case we didn't get the idea, he gives another example about kings and planning wars against countries. Can I fight them? I need to gather intelligence first. I need to compare his army men with my army men. And if this is not favorable, I need to send an ambassador and hope that we can have some sort of peace treaty going on. And to fail to do that would be a failure of the government. Likewise, you, as the keeper of your home, cannot fail to plan. It's not okay to say, I'm spontaneous, and don't have a meal plan. And so, from that scripture, we are going to talk about some practical things that you can do in your home today so that you can have a plan, you can have counted the cost, gathered your materials, and made sure that you know what to do, and you have time in your schedule today to actually see that through to completion. We are not going to talk about all of the what if scenarios. Johnny broke his arm 3 seconds before the beans were done cooking. That's for another time. But on the day-to-day, your pattern and your plan is what? So tip number 1, start with dinner. Breakfast and lunch can be a complete train wreck. People can eat granola bars and cereal and life will keep going, but dinner has got to be planned. So as you think about meal planning, it can be very overwhelming. That is my tip for how to kind of reduce that down. Don't worry about planning breakfast and lunch. To this day, I don't plan breakfast and lunch because I kind of have a list of things and that's the things and it's always those things. We'll talk about that another day. So let's talk about dinner. Tip number 2, you need to sit down with a piece of paper, old school, and write down every single dinner you know how to cook. If you're having a mental block, pull out an old print cookbook. Betty Crocker cookbook is one of the best, very basic, has every kind of thing in it cookbooks. If you like Pinterest and you have a bunch of dinner boards, go there. If you've already got something on your phone, that's fine, pull that up. But write down every single dinner that, okay, 2 criteria. Are you ready? You know how to cook, not you hope you cooked, not you liked it on Pinterest 22 years ago and you keep thinking about making it. You actually know how to cook it. And 2, most of the people in your house will actually eat it. So those are the 2 rules. Only goes on the list if it fits the 2 rules. Otherwise, that's for another day. Again, categorize things. The protein is key. So list of things that use chicken, list of things that use beef, list of things that use pork, list of things that use fish, list of things that are, vegetarian type proteins, bean-based meals. Don't forget breakfast, eggs, waffles, pancakes, bacon, that kind of thing. It counts as a dinner category as well. Cracker Barrel can sell it. We can cook it too. And so this is your master list of foods you know how to cook. Now, don't box yourself in too much and say, well, okay, chicken, that's one of my dinners. No. What are you doing with the chicken? So chicken tacos, that's a dinner. A shredded chicken and rice, that's a dinner. Chicken Caesar salad wraps, that's a dinner, okay? So don't squeeze yourself so general that you can't come up with ideas. Be a little more specific. Now, step 3. You need to take that master list, however big or small it is, and you need to each week decide what are the 6 or 7 meals I'm making this week. Now, in my house, I do 6 because on Sunday, we are not home enough hours for me to reasonably and with a less stress environment actually cook a dinner and us be home to eat it. So that is our eat out day each week. The other 6 days I'm cooking. And so you decide based on your schedule and your routines, how many days are you home and actually cooking? You need that many meals planned. So you look at your master list and you pick them. Now, where do we keep all of these lists? If you don't have it where you can see it, it is not going to help you. Writing it down on a piece of paper and then losing that piece of paper did no one any good. So I would recommend once it's written on paper that you either take a picture of it onto your phone or you then type it into your phone. Keep the print copy with your cookbooks in your kitchen. You need a space in your kitchen with cookbooks in it. They cannot be in a different room. And you need that print copy there and then your phone with you. That way, whichever it is that's easier for you to get to, you have it. But the one that you're going to do for this week, these are the 6 meals I'm cooking this week, that needs to be in a highly visible place. And it needs to be something that is very easy for you to erase and write new things on. So I am a huge fan of dry erase. For me, it works very conveniently that my cooking station setup, the refrigerator is central. So what I do is I have a magnetic fridge whiteboard, very inexpensive. You can get them from Walmart, you can get them online. I don't like the ones with pre-printed stuff all over it. I want it blank. And I split mine. We'll talk more about this in a future seg. But I have left half is my meal plan, right half is the list of leftovers that are in the fridge and need to get eaten. So that's another freebie tip I just throw in there. And so I'm going to list on there my meals for the week, just the dinners, nothing else. And I'm not specifically listing out a bunch of side items unless it's something I purchased special to cook with that dinner. Occasionally that happens. Things that we don't eat all of the time. But usually, because I have done them so many times, I know when I make spaghetti, this is the side I always make with spaghetti. I don't need to put that on the meal plan. The meal plan is just a trigger for you to remember what that morning you need to prepare for that meal. Now, in the next video, we'll talk about the actual preparation of the meal on that day, and I'll give you tons of tips about that. But today, we're just focusing on big picture planning and strategy. If you would prefer to make your own little whiteboard, you actually can do it yourself. I don't know in the long run if it's actually any easier or better, but I do this for my goals list, which maybe we'll talk about another day. I just printed a pretty little piece of paper out using my computer and printer. So I took, Microsoft Word, opened it up, found a couple cute little floral clip arts, put them in the corners, and then put a title on it and hit print. Now, I have a laminator. They do make single page, single sheet laminators you can do like with an iron or with a hair straightener if you've got those. You could look into something like that, or maybe, take it into the UPS office and have them laminate just that one page for you, not super expensive. It might be cheaper than buying a whiteboard. It might not. Now, I also homeschool, so of course, I own a little tiny laminator, just a little 8.5 by 11 one. Not that expensive to get. And so I was able to do that for myself. One thing I will caution you away from, chalkboard. Don't do it. Really bad idea. Chalkboard markers do not erase, no matter how many brands you try and buy. And so whiteboard is the way to go. You could do a printed list, so sit down at your computer, type up the items, print it, and stick it on the cabinet or the refrigerator, or whatever that central location is for you so that you can see it when you're in the kitchen. I don't do that method because I hate the idea of I have to print something every single week. A, it uses a lot of ink. B, a lot of paper. It's a lot of trash. I try to keep my trash can very, very empty because we're not generating trash. So I like reusable much better. Now, as we talk about, well, how do I pick what meals to put on this week's list? I would say right now, stay with where you're at. Don't look at your big master meal list and be like, oh no, I only know how to cook 6 things. That's a small list. I need to go find a bunch of other meals that I can cook and make that list bigger. No. Stay with where you are. That is something you need to learn, and you can learn that later. Today, we're just getting organized. So if the list is less than 10, that's okay. But here's what you're going to do. Shuffle your proteins. So you don't want 2 chicken days in a row unless all you know how to cook is chicken. But, if you know how to cook 3 things with chicken and 3 things with beef and eggs, alternate chicken, beef, eggs, chicken, beef, chicken, beef. Ta-da! This is now your rotation. You will follow that in order. And so that tells you what it is you're going to cook each day. And when you go to next week, see where you left off, find that place on the master meal list, and just go to the next item. So that makes it really simple. You're not sitting down and thinking about, I feel like this, I feel like that. There is no feel like in cooking. You cook what you have available and what's next on the list. Now, if you do have a lot of things on your list you know how to cook, you're hitting 15, 30, 35, then things are a little different. What I find, because that can be overwhelming, is that there's usually 2 or 3 meals that is just our favorite. Everyone will gladly eat that every week with no complaint, and I am very happy to cook that every week with no complaint because it's really easy, or I'm very familiar with that recipe and it does not take a long time to do it. So here's what we do. We put that meal in every week. So maybe 2 or 3 of my 6 cooked meals are ones that they're every Monday, this is the night it's spaghetti. Every Wednesday, it's tacos. And that's how it is. We're all very happy with that. So you have your 2 or 3 probably that are like that. The other days of the week, those are the ones you rotate and shuffle. That's where you get your variety. And so take those other meals and then go through those in order. So that way, by the end of the month, Thursday, you've eaten something completely different every Thursday this month. It still gives you the variety, but it doesn't make it so overwhelming when you're looking at 34 meals and you have to rotate back through. Plus, it allows you some time to kind of perfect your cooking if you haven't been doing it for a very long time. Now, the last thing I'll throw in here is about, where does my meal plan start? Does it have to go from Sunday to Saturday, beginning to end of the week? Of course not. Now, most people wouldn't even think about that. Why did I bring that up? In my area, the grocery store ads start on Wednesday and end on Tuesday. Why is that a big deal? Because if I were to write out my meal plan from Sunday to Saturday, I don't know what proteins have gone on sale. I'm not buying all of my stuff on Monday and Tuesday and then using that to cook all week. Usually I shop at one grocery store on Tuesday and the other grocery store on Friday. So Friday and Saturday night's dinners, depending on what new ad came out that week, I might have some new proteins available to me that I don't always buy or I don't have in stock in my freezer right now. So for me, it makes more sense for my meal plan to run from Wednesday to Tuesday because in that time frame, I know what the one grocery ad is and I know I won't have any new items. I won't have to change anything. And so for me, that's what works. So it is okay to think in terms of that. If you don't have to shop via the ads, then don't worry about that. Sunday to Saturday probably works. But just throw that out there as something maybe you hadn't thought of. It is better to know the plan for the whole week, even if that week starts and stops on a weird day, than to only know the plan for 2 or 3 days because a grocery store ad is about to come out and you don't want to write down the next items. So those are some thoughts on big picture meal planning to wrap it up. Number 1, focus on dinners. The big meal each day, whatever that is for you, that's the one you plan. Don't worry about everything else right now. Number 2, list everything that you know how to cook and they mostly like to eat. Number 3, take that master list, which is in print form somewhere, and put it in a weekly plan. This week, what are the 6 or 7 meals I'm cooking for the big meal each day? And know that you can start and stop that on whatever day it is you wish, but that has got to be front and center in a place in your kitchen that you will see multiple times without having to go seek it out. So if you're constantly re-microwaving your cup of coffee each day, stick it right next to the microwave. If you're constantly in and out of the refrigerator, stick it there. So you know where that place is, put it right there, prominent, front and center. And that's the first thing we can do to help de-stress mealtime. Until next time.